I feel like my expectation is that I should have a change. I should be in a different place now, and I'm not. And that's just my reality. Welcome to Life Unleashed,
the podcast all about creating the best life for you and your furry best friend.
If you're a dog mom on the go, juggling life, work, and the endless joys of being a dog parent, then you're in the right place. I'm Dani.
And I'm Nick.
And together with the incredible dog mom community from tailsuppup, we're here to share advice, stories, and the obsession we have over the love for our dogs.
Get ready to laugh, learn, and lean on each other because life with your dog just got even more awesome.
I'm sure you've heard the phrase, comparison is the thief of joy. So I wanted to talk about that in more detail.
Isn't that so true, though?
Yes, and I feel like now more than ever, I've received messages about people comparing themselves to me or their baby to our baby. And yesterday, one of my friends was texting me like, oh, this person's going on another vacation. Like, that must be nice. And I'm like, the more that I think about it from my perspective, I'm like, you just have no idea what those people's lives are truly like. And so it's easy to look at someone's highlight reel and be like, dang, they're going on another vacation. Like, I can't even go on one this year. And it's like, I feel like you hear it time and time again, but like social media is a highlight reel and you are only going to see the best parts of people's lives and you don't know what they've done to get there or what they're like giving up to do that instead. And I feel like we have a lot of things to say about this.
Yeah, it is. I think social media has definitely made this like a lot worse probably because before social media, like when we were in middle school, like you couldn't see what your friends were really doing on the weekend or any of that type of stuff if you weren't there. Like you could have FOMO like on Monday when people would be talking about like what happened over the weekend or over break or whatever, but you didn't see all the stuff. Mm-hmm. Now you're getting like the most, because I feel like now everyone's kind of like a professional influencer like at a micro scale, even if they're not posting like, you know, for like influencing type stuff. It's like they're, you know, we all have really good cameras in our pockets now, good video, and like people are taking stuff. And so then they post it and it's like you cannot go on like Instagram or Facebook or whatever and not see one of your friends somewhere in the world at some point. Mm-hmm. I mean, particularly, you know, most of us have a fair amount of friends, definitely hundreds, some of us over 1,000. And that's just like a normal person. So the likelihood of one of those people being at some cool place or doing something cool is very high, and is even more likely that they're going to post about it. So, you know, pretty much any random Wednesday, you know, of the year that you go on Instagram, you're going to see one of your friends doing something really cool. And that can make you feel bad. Like if you're like trying to compare, it's like, dang, why does it seem like everyone's always on vacation when in reality it's like, yeah, well, out of 1,000 friends, probably one person is going to be on vacation or doing something cool.
Also, the person who is going on yet another vacation and this friend is like jealous because they live like a more normal life. They're not an influencer. They have to work really hard, save their money to go on a vacation. And she's watching this influencer who's going on like the 5th vacation of the year type of thing. From our perspective, I feel like we had a little juicy sprinkles in there because little do most people know that this girl is likely writing off her vacation. And so I'm like, she didn't have to use her hard-earned like extra money to go on this vacation. She's using it as a business trip because she's going to take like product photos. She's going to, who knows why she's going there. She hasn't posted yet, but likely it is a business trip, which is different than if you were going for fun on your own.
Well, what is your point about that?
That, like, for this girl who's a teacher and has to work really hard and save all her money and go on a vacation, it's different than an influencer who's using business money to go on a vacation.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's true, but doesn't that kind of make it, I feel like is your point that it's like even more unfair?
Yes, because
okay.
The teacher is like aspiring, like, oh, I wish I could go on a vacation. How is she doing this all the time? And it's like, you could never even compare your life to her life because she's not using the same type of money that you're using. She's using business money, which is a whole different category.
Yeah, I mean, if you run a brand or like you're an influencer that like does this for brands and like your kind of job is to go to these places to do that stuff, then yeah, you're going to, you know, like be using pre-tax dollars, business money to go do that.
And that's if she's writing it off as her own business expense. If she's being brought there to do something as an influencer, likely someone else is paying for it. Someone is flying her there, paying for her to get there, whatever it may be. We don't know the back end of this specific situation, but a lot of times influencers are flown somewhere, paid to stay in a hotel. Like they don't have to pay for any of those things.
Yeah. However, we have been on trips that are like business trips for content creation and things like that. And it is not as fun as it, I guess, is made to seem on social media. Like most of the time, depending on the trip, but for us, it's like you're working a lot of the time.
Right.
Yes, there are fun things. Yes, you are in a cool location, that type of stuff. But I know some of the ones that we've been on, it's like you're basically there to work and you're, creating content for most of the day. You're coming back, you're editing the content, you're doing all those things. You're going to meet with certain people. And it's like, by the end of the day, it's like you weren't at the beach relaxing.
Yes. So we have used a beach trip as a business trip before in different situations, but like one specific one is like it looked like we were going on a family beach trip, which like we were because we were all going, but we had to set out, do all these photo shoots. It wasn't just us sitting down relaxing like you traditionally would on a beach. It was us having to plan out our shot list, get all of our content, and wrangle our dogs on the beach.
Yeah. So, but I mean, at the same time, you are still in a good location, so there
yeah.
there are pros about it. For sure.
It's one of my favorite memories. I'm so glad we've done it, and like I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I am saying that to the world might have looked like a normal beach trip, and to us, it was a business trip.
Right, or like when we went to Pensacola with the whole team or whatever for
that was
coffee,
the other thing I was
and
thinking
the party
about.
And all that type of stuff.
And another situation of comparison is that this weekend we went to a party, and Callan, if you saw the video of my mom's surprise party when we walked in, he freaked out. I think it was just like a lot of noise, overwhelming, and he did that same thing this weekend at the party. And the first thing one of the girls said to me was, "Wow, I've never seen him cry before. Like, I didn't know he even cried." And I'm like, okay, everything we post on social media is our baby smiling and happy, and I can understand it now that she pointed it out. Like, of course people think my baby doesn't cry because I don't post that, but like, of course I'm not going to post that because that's like not a moment that I would want to share. And like, but every baby cries, and I feel like right now we're like really seeing the comparison because there's a lot of new moms, and I feel like it's really fragile, and there's milestones and you feel like your kid isn't keeping up or whatever it may be. It's really easy to compare yourself and your baby to someone else's. And I share a lot of that online of where we're at and what we're doing. And so I get a lot of messages right now, people comparing. And I feel like, you know what? It's got to be said. Yes, my baby cries. Like, yes, we have hard days. Like, he doesn't sleep through the night every night. Like, some people are like, oh my gosh, can we normalize like babies not sleeping through the night? And I'm like, he slept really well through the night, but he still would cry and like make some peeps here and there. It wasn't until like 6 months that he actually slept through the night with no sounds.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Even though we probably said he slept through the night, because for the most part he was.
Yeah, well, when we're comparing it to when he was waking up like 5 times in a row and, we're having to do 5 different feedings, it's like, yeah, when we only hear him cry 1 or 2 times, or, that's sleeping through the night, quote unquote.
I think the moral of my comparison thing is like, you just don't know someone else's situation and where they're at and like what goes on behind the scenes. So like, I know it's easier said than done, but like, try not to compare yourself and your situation to someone else's. I truly think that our baby like progresses and does what he does because we are home with him all the time. I think that obviously everyone's like natural instincts and like that type of stuff is totally different. Everyone's going to vary, but I do think to an extent he is able to crawl around and like be mobile because we are with him. If he was in a daycare where there was less adults to children, he might not have been doing that yet,
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Some of that could be true. Some of it could literally just be him and like the, God-given gifts.
And everyone always says he has a lot of determination. You can see it in his eyes. Like, he is determined. He has no desire to sit down. He wants to be moving and grooving and getting around town. And that's just, I feel like, his personality and like who he was born into.
I feel like the other thing that should be said for a lot of this stuff, I feel like there's so much research that supports this. If your kid is, crawling at 6 months versus 8 months, that has no indication on like future abilities
right.
And things like that.
I'm like, he's not going to Harvard because he's crawling before the other kid. Like, it just is what it is right now. But in the long term, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, no, I think that should be said.
If anything, we are running around more. So I would say you can always look at the pros of someone else's situation too. Like,
the other thing about like comparison is that the thief of joy that makes another phrase that makes me think of it when I'm thinking of that phrase is expectations versus reality.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times social media puts out like, your kid should be doing this by 6 months, or you should be doing this if you're this postpartum. And it's like, you might expect something else, and in reality, like, it's going to be different for you. And like, especially if you're like, I also want to talk about postpartum bodies and stuff. And like, if you're looking at my Instagram and you're like, oh, she's going to the gym 4 days a week, and like, I can't even go one time, and like, I'm still struggling. And it's like, I feel like you have to kind of think about your own situation again, because I worked out my whole pregnancy. If you didn't and now you're trying to get back into it, it's going to be way harder for you than it would be someone who like has been used to working out consistently. So don't compare where you are now to where you want to be to someone else's journey, because really you just have to work on where you are and your progression. And that's why I think it's important to just kind of set your own goals and not worry about other people. I think it's good to look for inspiration in other people, but not compare yourself necessarily.
Well, I think what really, like, the way those two things are linked is like, so the comparison happens, which sets an expectation in your own mind, like, for yourself. And that could be like with working out, that could be for vacations. Like, if you're seeing people go, it's like, oh, well, you know, I'm comparing that they're going on, you know, 3 or 4 vacations a year, it seems like. And so now you have this expectation that you should. And if you only go on one, rather than being grateful and happy for the one vacation you went on, you had the expectation of hitting, you know, 3 or 4. And so when reality is underwhelmed of the expectation that you had, that's, I think, when you are sad.
And everyone wants to know, how is Dani doing it all? Even the other day, I got this other girl. She's like, I just had my baby. Like, how are you doing it? And I'm like, really? You do see a social media highlight reel. I do a little bit of everything. I don't do everything to the max. And I have a husband who is very helpful. If you were like a one-man band kind of thing, it would be so hard. But like, a lot of times a significant other is going to work, leaving the house. We are lucky to have 2 people who can share responsibilities to get everything done. And that definitely helps. But a lot of times, like, I'm posting our dinners on Instagram and people are thinking I'm cooking it, which I never show cooking it. So I don't know. That's just their assumption. So never assume. But Nick a lot of times is cooking the dinners now. And there's just, it's, someone has to watch the baby, someone has to cook, and that's just the way that we balance it right now. So I think that, you know, that's important to know. But I feel like for the most part, I am just doing a little bit of everything. So I work sometimes, and when I'm working, a lot of times I'm recording something. So it looks like I'm working all the time, but really that was just a little snippet of my day. I'm taking care of Callan when he's awake. For the most part, I'm taking care of him, but we're starting to balance that a little bit more, and Nick will watch him when he's awake if I have more orders that have to get done or something like that. We're still figuring out a good balance, but we also are learning that now that he is mobile and on the move, we might need help, and we're trying to think about our best situation for that. But we are going to put him in preschool in the fall, so that's not too far away either.
I know, that is coming up so fast, which is like, I was telling somebody, having to register him, he was 5 months old when we registered him.
Yeah.
Registering your kid at 5 months old for school was like the craziest thing, but like, you have to do it a year in advance.
Yeah, if you waited, then you would have less school options, I feel like. Like, we wanted a specific day at a specific school, so we were like, we're just going to sign up now. Where if you waited, you probably would just get like the last pick kind of thing.
Yeah, the one thing that is definitely true is I feel like if you are in a situation where like your significant other basically is gone to a job, whatever, or even if you're like both having to go to work, it's like that is very different, where Danielle and my schedules are so aligned that we're able to like truly get the best like bang for our buck and like helping each other get everything done. Mm-hmm. From whether it's, you know, going to the gym all the way down to like cooking meals and things like that. It's like our schedule is 100% perfect, and we're not having to like, or for the most part at least.
Yeah.
So that really helps as far as like both of us being able to get the maximum done.
Also, in the new year, I put a story on my personal page, and I said, I want to share like my postpartum journey, C-section recovery, all that stuff. And now we are March, and I really wanted to do like every month. And I'm actually going to post about this on my stories today. Like, it's on my to-do list. I need to do it because I haven't posted anything since January 1st because there truly is no update. And so I'm like, I'm the same weight. I look the same. I act the same. Like, I've been working out consistently at least 4 days a week. I'm eating healthy, and there's no change. So I haven't posted anything. And I'm like, wait, that's actually the point. Like, that's what I need to be sharing, because we all want this grand reveal. Like, look at me, look what I did. And I'm like, I don't have that, but I need to share that because that's reality. And if someone's trying to compare themselves to me and they're like, wow, look what she did. And I'm like, you know what? It's normal because I'm a normal person and this is my situation. I have no change in 2 months and that's life.
Yeah, the update is there's no change, but that feels weird, but I get what you're saying.
Like, I feel like my expectation is that I should have a change. I should be in a different place now, and I'm not. And that's just my reality.
Yeah, there you go. The expectation of wanting to change versus it not happening. Does that make you feel bad? Or
yeah. Because I'm working hard. I'm being consistent, but my body's not budging.
But you look great, Dani.
Well, that's another thing. A lot of people are like, wow, you look so good. Like, I didn't look like that. And I'm like, clothes definitely do something because they hide a lot of lumps and bumps. I don't feel confident in my own body yet. And that's just life. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Like, I'm not trying to make any drastic changes because I'm breastfeeding, and I would not jeopardize my milk supply to get a body that I feel confident in. So right now I'm not dieting and I'm not trying to lose weight because I don't know what that would do to my milk supply, and that's just not worth it to me at this point. And so we're just kind of living our life, and I've had to find like this new t-shirt. Like, I had to find some clothes that make me feel more confident or make me like, happy in what I'm in. And a lot of my old clothes don't fit, and they might never fit again. Who knows? But this is just where I'm at right now. And also, I will say about the working out part, on days like today, we did athletic conditioning, and my scar gets so irritated. I don't know if this is normal or not, but like, it gets so itchy, and like, even it made me stop having to jump because it was like bothering me so much.
Was it hurting?
Sometimes it like hurts, but it's definitely very itchy.
That is interesting.
I'm wondering if there's like scar tissue, and like the jumping and tucking and like bending it is like messing.
It's probably pulling on the scar tissue.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that. The one thing I was going to say, even though your number on the scale hasn't changed, you're definitely getting stronger and, more capable at the gym. Like, you went a higher box jump today. You're going up in weights on a lot of your lifts. So, like, I'm improving.
Yes, I'm trying to make small changes, even if it doesn't change the way that the scale says. It might change the way my body looks, which also would be helpful in me feeling like I'm making progress. I even found myself comparing myself to someone today. I have no idea how old she is, if she has kids. I don't know any of those things. I was just looking at her and I was like, I want to look like that. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't need to look like that right now. Maybe one day.
Yeah, comparison definitely is a very natural thing. I feel like there's no way to not do it. I think it's just more about like having the right mindset around it. And like you said, inspiration and comparison can even be a good thing. Like, I feel like chasing goals and having like kind of that North Star for yourself and role models is a great thing. I'm trying to become more like that. But I think and at least me, it can turn and become a not good thing and a negative thing where you're like now beating yourself up about it because like, oh, why am I not, or why is it not happening faster, and all this stuff.
Another thing, I've never heard someone talk about this, so I don't know if this is a niche problem, but working out as a breastfeeding mom, the second half of the workout is much harder for me because the milk starts coming back in. And so like my boobs are bigger and they're heavier and they're flinging around more. And I'm like, it is just way harder no matter what. I just feel like any of the jumping stuff, a lot of women talk about the pelvic floor and like having a little leaking and stuff. I luckily have not had to deal with that problem, but the milk has been a whole other problem for me.
Yeah, you were saying that today, and like some of the stuff, like you had to like change your like angle or whatever.
Or I have to hold my chest with my hands so that I could sprint up and down with my legs because it's like they're just, moving around.
Yeah, that is a problem that seems difficult to deal with.
I mean, all this to say, again, that everyone's situation is different. So it's so easy to look at someone else and be like, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I could do that, or how are they doing that? And like for us specifically, if you're looking at us, again, we have 2 adults who are able to pass off tasks back and forth and trade off when they need to. And also, we're not working a traditional 9 to 5. So we might be working our hours before or after, or less. You know, we don't have to sit in a meeting or be at a computer all day from 9 to 5 and try to take care of our son at the same time. We have flexibility to do things at different times and make sure the work gets done when we need to. And I think what's really helped us is making a to-do list and prioritizing. For most part, I feel like we do it for the week and we're like, okay, these things need to get done by this time. And for a while, our schedule was that I would work when Callan was napping, which is typically about 9 to 11 and 1 to 3. So really I was only getting 4 hours of solid work done. And sometimes, depending on the week, that wasn't enough. So Nick was watching him on Fridays, so I would have a full day of work at least on Fridays. And even recently, that was not enough. So sometimes I'm like, hey, Nick, I'm going to need an extra time here or an extra time there. So at what point would be good for you to watch him so that we can make sure the orders get done or that the wholesale gets done, things like that.
Yeah, one thing that I was going to say too is like, even though it seems like, you know, we're doing so much, the way that we feel is like we feel like we're doing way less work than we used to do.
We are.
I mean, I know that we are, but it's like we like in our internal state, we're like, we want to be able to do more stuff and we just can't because our priorities, Callan comes first. And so that is one of those things that like, if you're in our brains, then you're being like, we're feeling like we're not doing as much as we want to do. There's always more to be done and we always want to do more. And like, we have the energy, we have the, you know-how, but there is not enough time to do it if you're going to, you know, take care of your kid, which we choose to do that, obviously.
And I also will say that we are doers. Like, we set out to want to maximize our time and get the most things done in that time. So if you go to a job that you dread going to and you might only actually be productive 2 of the 8 hours, like a lot of people are not actually that productive at their job because you don't have to be. You're getting paid to do whatever, and you might have a few things to get done in here and there. For us, we are getting paid based on how much we exert, how much we are doing in a day. If we are not filming a video to promote something, if we are not, you know, doing the podcast, if we are not fulfilling orders, we will not get paid. The orders will not continue to come in. So we have to do those things. So that determines us to like sit down and get things done. And I think we have a lot of motivation, a little fire under our booties, because if we don't do it, we won't get paid. And so we have to do those things.
Well, that's not to say like, I don't want to say that everyone that has like a job, whatever the job might be that's traditional, it doesn't have to work hard at their job. I'm sure plenty of you guys are having to work very hard at your jobs. I think there's a difference though, like when you own your own business, like if you don't do it right, if you don't maximize the time that you have, like it really is only hurting you. Mm-hmm. And the way that I know that this is true is because I've been in a traditional job and I've now in a business owner, and then we've had employees, and I know and I can see the difference in how an owner versus an employee works, and there is a difference.
Which also gives us the ability that if we want to go on a walk in the middle of the day, we can do that. We can say, you know what, we're not going to work right now. We're just going to hang out as a family and go do something. And we really enjoy that. And sometimes we choose to do that over doing work because that's what's important to us at the time.
And, you know, again, that's like the comparison thing. Like, you know, there are pros and cons to, you know, being a business owner, being able to go do that when you want to. But, you know, last night, you know, I was working till 7:00 doing taxes. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's just, we do not have that set schedule. And like, it really is up to us, you know, to get all the stuff that we have to get done in the time that we have.
And right now, I feel like we are not differentiating which day of the week it is. In the past, we really tried to say weekends are weekends, and that's going to be that. And now that we work around a nap schedule, we kind of also continue that on the weekends. Depends if there's like a party or something that we have to do. But if we don't and we're home, a lot of times if he is napping, then we still utilize that time to do something productive, whether it's cleaning the house or meal prepping or going downstairs and working.
Yeah, we've definitely been, I really feel like it's been 2 or 3 weeks, maybe longer, where it is like Saturday, Sunday, it didn't really matter. Yes, we had some events on those days, but like it doesn't feel like, it seems like a normal work day in some ways.
And if you follow our personal social medias, you'll see that Nick specifically has been trying to film more videos. He's like really into creating content for himself and his books right now. And so that is another thing added into it of, we have to film that content. So we've been doing that on the weekends too.
Yeah, there are not enough hours in the day. It is very hard to get everything that we want to get done, particularly around the nap schedule.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be even harder when he naps differently. So hopefully he continues this for a little bit longer.
He definitely still needs these naps. He's like, so he at 9 o'clock, he's like, he cannot hang anymore.
We like to tire him out though. We let him crawl around, do all the things, play with all the toys so that he is tired. So he takes a good 2-hour nap.
And and that really helps him sleep through the night too, I think. He's always so tired at night.
Yeah, I think if we like had him sitting in a chair, like lounging on the couch a lot of the times, like he wouldn't be tired enough to take his nap. So like we kind of really exert his energy in the awake windows.
Yeah, but he wants to.
Yeah. He wants to.
He's crawling.
He wouldn't lounge anyways.
No, so it's kind of like he forces that. But you know what? The kid gets his energy out, and that's a good thing.
Okay, my final recap to give you a little inspiration at the end. Comparison is the thief of joy. Everyone has a different situation. Be, consistent for yourself. Show up for yourself. Set some goals for yourself that don't have to do with anyone else and might not even do with your past, because your past self is not who you are right now. You just need to focus on who you are now, who you want to be, and make the little goals to get there, and know that it's okay if there's no change. If you're being consistent and trying to achieve those goals, then, you're trying, and that's all that really matters. And you got to be happy with where you're at and know that every phase of life is going to be different, and that's okay.
And I know for me, it's very easy to want like massive like gains or improvement in a short amount of time. And if I don't see that, I get discouraged. But like I shouldn't and you shouldn't discount just like getting 1% better every single day. If you can just like move a little bit towards that goal and be consistent with it, like by the end of a year, you will be so shocked with how like much progress you've like created. And I've seen this firsthand, like in writing my book. It felt like I was never going to get to my 100,000 words, but it's like I literally sat down every day for my 1 hour and just worked along the way. And guess what? By the end of February, I had my 100,000 words. It's done.
And if you find yourself being sad about where you're at or comparing yourself too much, you might need a little social media detox, and sometimes that is good for the soul. You can put a timer on and say, I'm only going to scroll for 30 minutes. And also this really helps you achieve your goals. People are like, how is Nick writing a book? All this stuff. It's like he has given up scrolling on social media for the most part, and you're able to get so much done. I don't think people realize how much time they spend scrolling on social media. It really consumes you. It wastes a lot of your time. You don't get to fulfill things in your life, and you're going to be comparing yourself to other people way more than you probably should. So a little social media detox can be good for you, but don't forget to still watch our videos because we need your views, we need your likes and comments. So don't forget about us.
It was so funny. Someone asked, like, how did you read so many books? There's no way that you can read that many books. And I'm like, you would be so surprised if you did. We literally do not watch TV. I cannot remember the last time our TV in our house.
Calvin doesn't even know we have a TV in the house.
I don't think he's ever seen it on. I can't remember the last time our TV was on. I really do not scroll on social media hardly at all anymore. And so like, if you actually take those two things out of your life, like I typically write for an hour every night, and most of the time I'm getting an hour of reading like to like calm down before bed. And like, even if you're for me, I probably read roughly 50 to 60 pages an hour, more or less a page a minute. And so that's 60 pages a night minimum. If I'm just reading an hour, sometimes we've been pushing our bedtime to like 9:30. And so if I'm doing that, like, that's 60 to 70 pages a day. That adds up real quick. You're done with a 300-page book in 4 or 5 days at the minimum. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you do that, you're reading 4 to 5 books a month at the absolute minimum. Which people are like, how could you read that many books? But it's like, that's at the basic level for us.
I hope you're leaving this with a little encouragement and oomph, and that you're not comparing and you're not sad, because we want you to leave and go feel inspired to do something new and exciting, and not compare yourself and not leave, unjoyful. So thank you guys so much for listening. And we will see you next time.
Bye.